have anger, you can make all sorts of legislation, sign all kinds of treaties and agreements, but when attachment, ignorance, and anger rule people's minds, that there's never going to be any peace. Yeah. So this is, when we really think about this, instead of trying to tweak our samsara and make it nicer, this is the reason to try and get out of samsara and help everybody else get out too. Was that part on?
You're online, yes.
Okay. 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 So we will do the prayers first. I will try, but just to remind people where we are, just in case everybody was so busy studying Madhyamaka philosophy that they had no time to review what we went through last week. Yeah, like that. Okay, so we spoke, we're in the chapter about concentration and about serenity, yeah. And serenity is a mental state. It's not an actual attainment on the path. I mean, it's spoken of often, so it sounds like an attainment, but it's actually a mental state that we're trying to cultivate, one of single-pointedness. And so we've talked about already the 5 hindrances that are in common, that they're found in all the Buddhist traditions, okay? And the antidotes to those. We spoke about those. And then we moved, those are from the Pali scriptures. And then from the Sanskrit scriptures, the Mahayana tradition, specifically Maitreya's differentiating the middle from the extremes, there he talks about 5 faults. So not to be confused with the 5 hindrances, okay? 5 faults and 8 antidotes, okay? So we've been through the 5 faults, and there are 8 antidotes. And we are moving in now to talk about the 9 stages of sustained attention. So these are the stages of calming the mind that precede serenity, okay? And so last time we talked about, there's some things, oh yeah, okay, yeah. Last time we talked about the 6 powers and the 4 types of attention, okay? So the 6 powers are talking about how the mental factors that and activities that you need to do as you're progressing through those 9 stages. And then the 4 types of attention are showing how you grasp your chosen object for meditative serenity, okay? And then last time, to conclude, I read the verse from Maitreya's Ornament of Mahayana Sutras, and it has 9 lines, and each line talked about one of the 9 stages, okay? So that was all, the 4 types of attention and the 6 powers, and then this verse. That's all the prelude to going through the 9 stages of attention. So that when we go through that, you'll see how it all comes together. And if you need a chart, that summarizes the whole thing. It's on page 202 and 203 in the book. We'll be starting to read from 198, but this chart, and the chart goes all the way across the 2 pages. Yeah, there was no way to get it all on one page, so, so you have the 9 stages listed going down on page 202, and then the powers and the attentions, and then the main faults that are present on each of those stages, the main antidote, and then what is it that you're accomplishing on that stage. So the chart is quite helpful for summarizing all of this. Yeah. Now, there's a lot of details, a lot of terms, but this gives us a map of how, to attain serenity, how to develop it. And you'll see, different things happen on different stages and so forth. You also have to remember that, this is a general outline, and that there will be individual differences. Yeah, we tend to sometimes see something that's marked in stages and expect, that everybody has to go through boom, 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 the same stages, And everybody does, but it does not always, everybody does 5 minutes on this and 1 hour on that and so on. It's, there's individual differences, okay? It's kind of like, we're all trying to develop bodhicitta. We're all doing meditations on bodhicitta. Are we all developing at the same rate in the same way? No, okay? One person may be emphasizing one bodhicitta meditation, somebody another. People spend different amounts of time. It depends on past karma. It depends on what's going on in your mind right now, okay? So I'm saying this because sometimes we like to have everything really laid out very meticulously, like this chart. Yeah, that chart looks great. Okay, so we look at the chart and we go, okay, yes, let's see, the first stage I practice, first page is overcoming my lazy, well, it's hearing, I have to hear the instructions, okay. And I practice mindfulness. Now, when I go to the second stage, I forget about mindfulness because that's what I practiced on the first stage. Now I don't practice that anymore. I practice something else. And wrong, okay? Mindfulness is the whole key because mindfulness is what puts your focus on the object. So it's needed throughout all 9 stages, okay? But when it's talking about something, being the attention or the power, it means that, or the main fault or the antidote, it means that kind of is accentuated on that stage. Yeah, it doesn't mean it doesn't occur, it doesn't mean distraction only occurs, let's see, distraction. Oh, okay, it only occurs on the first and second stage. After that, you never get distracted. No, okay? Yeah, so it's just saying kind of what is the prominent thing. But again, I'm saying this because we have a mind that likes everything nice, organized. Okay, stage 1, I do this, then by, like high school, first year, I do algebra. Okay, if I pass algebra, second year, I do geometry. That means I can forget all my algebra because I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Now I'm on to geometry, okay? And I only do geometry in my sophomore year. Then in my junior year, what do you do, calculus? What? Pre-calculus, okay. So, yeah, so third junior year, I do pre-calculus. I do not do actual calculus because that only happens on the fourth year. I'm doing pre-calculus on the third one, yeah. And I no longer do geometry or algebra. I can forget about all of that. Okay, are you getting what I'm saying, how our mind thinks? So that kind of way of thinking, it doesn't apply so well to human beings because human beings don't fit in nice, neat categories all the time. Yeah, okay. And there's things that overlap and things that are strong at one point and not at another and so on, okay? So just, we have to have a big mind. Yeah, because otherwise we hear 9 stages. Oh, what stage are you on? What stage are you on? Oh, you're on stage 3. Oh no, I'm still on stage 1. You know, I'm trying to get myself to the cushion and trying to figure out what object I want. They're ahead of me. They're gonna get enlightened before I do. I'm a loser. Yeah, I'm a loser. I'm going to be the last one getting enlightened because even doing serenity, you know, I fall behind everybody else. You know, somebody else gets enlightened before we do. We should celebrate. That's one more person who can help us. Yeah, and one more person who you know, is free of samsara and has those qualities. So we have to bring a certain type of mind to our Buddhist practice, and it isn't filled with nice, neat categories and you know, data and this kind of stuff, and comparison, and you know, of course, ranking. Yeah. Oh, what's my rank? Well, okay, I'm still on the first stage of sustained attention. My friend's on the 3rd. Somebody else is on the 6th. Oh God, how am I ever gonna catch up? But that person on the 6th gets angry a lot, and I don't get as angry as they do. So if we total it all together, yeah, then maybe we're kind of equal. We take the stages of serenity and the amount of anger, add them up for each person, divided in half, and we're equal. Yeah? Okay, so I'm just as good as that person. Yeah, don't waste your time doing that. Okay, so let's put our time in visualizing the mirror field, taking refuge in them, generating bodhicitta, and remember that all the sentient beings are seated around us.
To the teacher, a Tao transcendent destroyer, one thus gone, foe destroyer, completely and fully awakened one, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, one gone to bliss, nor of the world supreme guide of beings to be tamed. Teacher of gods and humans, Jaya the Buddha and Tao, transcendent destroyer, glorious conqueror, Shakyamuni, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O supreme among humans, you were born on this earth, you paced 7 strides and said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise, then I bow. With pure bodies, form supremely fine, wisdom like a golden mountain. Fame that blazes in the three worlds, winner of the best supreme guide, to you I bow. With the supreme signs, face like a spotless moon, color like gold, to you I bow. You are immaculate, the three worlds are not, incomparable, wise one, to you I bow. Great, compassionate protector, all-knowing teacher, field of merit and good qualities, vast as an ocean, to the Tathagata I bow. Through purity, freeing from attachment, through virtue, freeing from the lower realms. Unique, supreme, ultimate reality, to the Dharma that is peace I bow. Having freed themselves, showing the path to freedom, too well established in the trainings. The holy field endowed with good qualities, to the Sangha I bow. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind completely, this is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a mirage, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew, a bubble. A dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through this merit may sentient beings attain the state of all-seeing, subdue the foe of faults, and be delivered from the ocean of cyclic existence, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. This ground anointed with perfume, flowers strewn Mount Meru, foreland, sun and moon, imagined as a Buddha land and offered to you. May all beings enjoy this pure land. Venerable holy gurus, in the space of your truth body, from billowing clouds of your wisdom and love, let fall the rain of the profound and extensive Dharma, in whatever form is suitable for subduing sentient beings. Idam Gurana Mandalakam Niryatayami. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by listening to the Dharma, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by listening to the Dharma, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by listening to the Dharma, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings.
let's generate our, our motivation. So between yesterday and today, many people have died and many people have been reborn. In our lives, we tend to focus on just what's happening in our own life. Sometimes it's expanded to what's happening in certain parts of the country or certain parts of the world. But meanwhile, so much is going on with countless living beings being born and dying, experiencing various kinds of dukkha. So to really maintain our bodhicitta motivation, it's important that we have this very large perspective and think beyond just our own life, beyond what we know with our senses, beyond even what we think about mentally. And that will help us generate bodhicitta, because it keeps in mind the experiences of countless sentient beings. That can be condensed into everybody wants happiness and everybody wants freedom from dukkha. So having this kind of big picture and also combining it with an awareness of the kindness we've received from others and the defects of our self-centered attitude. When we hold all of that in mind, then generating bodhicitta is the natural response. So take a moment and let's do that. Okay. So, this is from His Holiness. Let's look at the 9 stages of sustained attention and the role the 6 powers and 4 types of attention play in them. So the first one is called placing the mind. To begin, we must identify the observed object and place the mind on it, even though our attention may not remain on it for long. So the observed object is the main object that we're focused on, and it's the object that we have chosen as the main one we're going to cultivate serenity with. Okay, so it's important not to keep changing objects, yeah, because part of the thing of developing concentration is familiarity with your object. Okay, so even though our attention won't stay on it for long, that's how we got to start, because that's where we're at. Okay, so to do this, withdraw your attention from external objects and with mindfulness place it on the meditation object. Do not follow distracting thoughts, sounds, and so forth. Okay, so withdraw our attention from external objects means we're not looking around the room. We're not listening to, the something drip in the back of the room or the motorcycle going by or who knows what. Okay, we're not thinking about what we're going to eat when the session's done. We're not thinking about what somebody told us in the break before we sat down to do session. Okay, so all these kinds of other things that usually occupy our mind, we have to, leave them aside. Not so easy, okay, but we have to, even if all we can do is stay on the object for, a few seconds, that's good, it's a few seconds without the mind running somewhere else, okay. So when you sit down to develop concentration, this practice, you really begin to see how out of control your mind is, with so many thoughts, so many opinions, so many lists of different things you want to do and have to do. Yeah. So many plans, so many doubts. Yeah, all of this kind of just parades before you, all the things that you want to have, the things you want to do, people who make you mad, because it is their fault if we become angry, isn't it? It's always somebody else's fault. Okay, so we have to draw our attention in from the rest of our life and what's going on in the rest of the world. Okay, and then mindfulness, yeah, okay, now here, don't think of secular mindfulness, yeah, we're talking about mindfulness in a Buddhist context. So you're not just sitting there observing what happens to pass through your mind, yeah, you know the object, and mindfulness is what places your attention on that object and keeps it. Okay, so we'll talk about the object being the image of the Buddha, so that we just have a common example. Yeah. Okay. So sometimes to do that, it's, well, you've taken refuge, okay, generated bodhicitta, good to do the 7 limbs, yeah, to create a little bit of merit, do a little bit of purification. Yeah, remember the instructions that, what you're going to do in your session. Remember what object you're focusing on. Okay. And you can do a little bit of breathing at the beginning, just not deep breathing or anything, just observing your breath, if that helps you to center your mind and let go of the extraneous thoughts. Okay, so you're on the first sustained attention. So the appearance of the object isn't clear, and the mind is filled with discursive thoughts, one coming after the other. Now, how did he know that that's what my mind is like? Yeah. Yeah, how does Maitreya know that? How does His Holiness know that? Well, this is how it is for everybody. Our mind may seem noisier than usual, although in actuality it isn't. It's simply that for the first time we are aware of how busy the mind is. Okay? Usually we're just taken away by the busyness. And, when you go from your home to your workplace, all the time you're seeing things, you're thinking about things. But when you get to your workplace, if somebody says, what were you thinking about from the time you left home until now? Most of us couldn't even say. I mean, that's how distracted we are, that all this is going through our mind and we don't even remember what it is. Yeah? Okay. But when you sit down to meditate, then it becomes very obvious how busy the mind is. For example, someone living near a highway is so familiar with the sound of traffic that he does not usually notice it. Only when he goes to a quiet place does the noise he is accustomed to hearing become apparent. Okay? So our mind is usually very busy. We only notice it when we sit down and try and stay on one object. Yeah. I've really seen a very good example, the example, that was given here. If you go to Shasta Abbey, our friends at the Zen monastery, it's right off of Highway 5, the main road going from Southern California straight up to Washington, yeah. And when you first go there as a guest, it's like, wow, this place is really noisy. You just hear the traffic all the time. But by the time you've been there a few days, you're not even noticing the traffic anymore because it's just so familiar. So it is, yeah, with our mind, so familiar with all this stuff running through it. Yeah. I mean, we can see when we sit down to recite the prayers, is your mind always focused on what you're saying in the prayers? Oh, our mind is thinking of, what just happened or what's going to happen or, who knows what. Just even staying with the words we're saying, yeah, is difficult for us. Okay. And it goes, we've had the other way, that when you're used to a lot of noise, when you come to a quiet place, you notice it. So we've had people come to the Abbey who say, it's so quiet here, I can't fall asleep. It's like they need the background noise to fall asleep, where most of us say a place is too noisy and we want the quiet so we can sleep. But for some people, I don't know, yeah, because there's all these apps you can do, white noise and, yeah, playing stuff. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, so discursive thoughts are automatically pacified in the process of progressing through the 9 stages, so do not get discouraged. As your mindfulness strengthens, the flood of thoughts will gradually subside. The first stage of sustained attention is accomplished by the power of hearing, for we apply the mind to the instructions we have previously heard from a teacher and set our mind on the object. Okay? So first thing, we need to hear teachings, and not just hear them in the manner of going in one ear and out the other, but going in both ears and getting thought about in between. Okay? And tight focus helps us to gain a strong hold on the object. So tight focus is really, it's tightly focusing, not tight like tense, but you're not letting your mind, go all over the place. Okay, so that's the first stage. Second stage is called continual placement. Yeah. So first one, you place the mind. Second one, you're continuing it. Initially, our goal is to keep our attention on the object and not let it stray. Through practice and employing the power of reflection, the mind is able to continually stay on the object for a short while. Yeah. So hearing was the first power. Now it's reflection. So you have to reflect again and again on the qualities of the object. Remember what it is. Okay, so this marks the second stage of sustained attention. Tight focus is still necessary to keep the mind on the meditation object. But now the mind can remain on the object a little longer. So maybe 30 seconds. No, I don't know what longer and shorter mean, but for everybody it's going to be different. Okay, still, the time spent in distraction exceeds the time the mind abides on the object. Okay, we're getting better, more focus on the object, but still mostly distraction. And our concentration is constantly interrupted by scattering to other thoughts. Yeah, you start, focusing on the Buddha image, and then you start thinking of Peter creating the Buddha statue in the hall, and how far has he gotten? He's working on the lotus now, and but the Buddha still doesn't have his head on, and and I wonder, how long this is going to take, and is he going to paint it, and what color is the lotus going to be? What, how bright of a color is the Buddha going to be? Do I have any say over it? Oh yes, I'm thinking about the Buddha, but not the visualized object that I should be meditating on. Okay. Okay, so our concentration is constantly interrupted by scattering to other thoughts, and the time spent in distraction exceeds that spent in focusing on the object. However, distraction and discursive thoughts begin to take a rest, and their force weakens. Okay, so maybe on the first one, you would be you would do a whole thing about, the Buddha, the Buddha and doing the Buddha. He's building the Buddha in the Buddha hall and the lotus and everything. And then you start thinking about, we've been building the Buddha hall for a long time. And, we have other pictures of the Buddha. Where are we going to hang those? And, we've been building this for 3 years. In the first year, we did this and this. In the second year, we did this. In the third year, and then, the session's over. Okay. So we begin to experience a little peace of mind. Okay, the third stage is repeated placement. Yeah. So now our aim is to recognize when the object is lost due to distraction and reset it on the object more quickly. Okay, so we were trying to notice when it left the object earlier too, and to reset it on the object. But here we're really trying to do that, a little bit more precisely and a little bit more quickly. Gradually, distraction decreases, and when they do arise, we are able to recognize them. Previously, we couldn't immediately regain concentration on the object once it was lost. But now, due to developing mindfulness through practice, through familiarity, due to developing mindfulness on the previous two stages, mindfulness easily returns to the meditation object, and attention returns inward instead of outward to the distraction. Okay. Still, scattering is recognized, occurs, but it's recognized more quickly, so its duration is shorter, and our ability to remain on the object increases. At this time, the third stage of sustained attention arises. Okay, so you can see there's a general description of making progress here, but it's really hard to tell, what's the point I go from the first to the second one. This is a general description, okay? Okay, then the fourth stage, close placement. As we develop more familiarity with the object, forgetting the object greatly decreases. So forgetting the object is your mind going totally off the object, yeah? Mindfulness is generated at the beginning of a session, and attention remains on the object with fewer distractions. The mind becomes a little subtler and is more easily drawn inward, away from the expensive and expansive diversity of thoughts and objects. Okay. Coarse restlessness and laxity are present. Coarse restlessness, yeah, the mind going off the object, running all around, you still have that. Laxity, drowsiness, lethargy, that's still there, yeah. So our focus on the object is still interrupted by these things, but they don't last as long, okay? Nevertheless, the power of mindfulness is strong. Now the fourth stage of sustained attention arises. Okay, so there's progress there. Still a ways to go, but progress. Okay, then the fifth stage is called taming. So the mind is disciplined and tamed so that it can stay on the object almost continuously. Wow, something you never thought was possible, yeah, is possible. The power, okay, now, and the first three, the power of mindfulness was the main one. That doesn't mean we didn't have introspective awareness then, we did, but introspective awareness becomes really prominent now on the fifth and sixth and so on, okay? So the power of introspective awareness stops the mind from wandering to destructive emotions and discursive thoughts about sense objects, okay? So the mind is beginning to relax a little bit, yeah? It's gonna wander, but maybe not to those things anymore. Coarse laxity and coarse restlessness are no longer problems, yeah? They may arise from time to time, but they're not huge problems, yeah? Previously, subtle laxity wasn't a problem because single-pointedness was difficult to attain. Okay, so it's only when you develop a little bit of progress, and can stay on the object a while, that you're even going to have subtle laxity and subtle restlessness, because the mind is just before all over the place, Okay. So previously, subtle laxity wasn't a problem because the single-pointedness was difficult to attain. Yeah. However, now the mind may become too absorbed in the object so that subtle laxity occurs. Yeah. Subtle laxity and subtle restlessness interrupt the focus, but concentration is easily restored by the power of introspective awareness. So introspective awareness notices that you're having one of the faults manifest in the mind. Yeah. And then it rings, quote, the alarm bell, so that you call forth the appropriate antidote to whatever that fault is. So introspective awareness isn't the direct remedy for laxity and restlessness, but it's one that we need so that we can apply the actual remedy, okay, which we've gone through before, okay? So that when the mind gets too absorbed in the object, then subtle laxity occurs. So remember, subtle laxity is you're on the object, there's some clarity on the object, but the clarity is not very intense. Okay? Yeah, and then subtle restlessness was you're on the object, but there's some shakiness, and an object of attachment is just about ready to pop up. Yeah. It's like, well, I've been meditating for a while. Oh, let's have a distraction too. I need a break from meditating on the object. No, there you're thinking of, how to call a distraction, but here it just kind of pops up. Okay. Subtle laxity and subtle restlessness interrupt the focus, but concentration is easily restored by the power of introspective awareness. Being aware of the benefits of concentration, we take delight in it and attain the fifth stage of sustained attention. Okay, now the sixth one, called pacifying. Through the power of introspective awareness, conviction that distraction is to be abandoned becomes firm. Oh, that means that before I wasn't 100% certain that distraction needs to be abandoned. I didn't have that firm notion in my mind. Okay, because sometimes I have a virtuous distraction. Yeah. Oh, I start thinking of the qualities of the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Oh, I haven't meditated on that before. Let's leave, developing serenity this session, and let's focus, on the 8 qualities of the Buddha, the 8 of the Dharma, the 8 of the Sangha. Yeah, let's do that. That's still distraction, even though it's virtuous. Okay? So you have to realize that and then bring the mind back to the Buddha, the visualized image. Okay, so through the power of introspective awareness, conviction that distraction is to be abandoned becomes firm. You had some of it before, but now it becomes firm. And all resistance to or dislike for single-pointed meditation is gone. Oh, did you have resistance or dislike for doing serenity meditation? What was your dislike or resistance?
Boring.
What?
It's boring.
It's boring. Yeah.
I fall asleep.
I fall asleep.
Hard.
It's hard. Yeah.
It doesn't seem like there's enough time to really settle and get into that and do that and also do the other things.
Oh, yeah. I have to settle into this meditation, and by the time I do that, 5 hours is gone, but I still have a whole pile of work to do. And somebody's been knocking on my door wondering where I am. Yeah. See, this is one of the reasons why, it's hard to develop when you're living an active life. We can improve it, but actually gaining it is difficult. Okay. Yeah, no longer is boring. Huh. Yeah, because it is boring, isn't it? Yeah. What? It depends on what? What?
If I'm interested, it's not boring.
What makes you interested? What makes your mind interested in some sessions and not in others?
Yeah, good question. I don't know, but sometimes it is very interesting to see, oh, look how it's changing. I'm able to stay on watching it change a little bit. Or
Are you interested in the object that you're meditating on, or interested in your progress? Saying, oh, I'm making progress, which is meaning that you're off the object.
yeah, the breath is boring.
Okay, the sixth stage is called pacifying. Okay, so through the power of introspective awareness, conviction that distraction is to be abandoned becomes firm, and all resistance to or dislike for single-pointed meditation is gone. Well, I don't know. During the previous stage, concentration was tightened in order to eliminate laxity. Okay, when the mind's falling asleep, things are blurry, there's no vividness in your mind, then you have to tighten your concentration. Okay, now on the sixth stage, it may be too tight, making the mind restless and causing subtle restlessness. Okay, so when the mind is too relaxed, you go to laxity. When you try and make the focus a little tighter, yeah, if you go a little bit too much, then it leads to restlessness. So then you stop focusing so tight. If you go too much to the relaxed state, then, okay, so you're navigating between these two states. Okay, subtle laxity may still arise occasionally, so both subtle laxity and subtle restlessness cause interrupted focus on the object. So still interrupted. Having matured through practice, the power of introspective awareness can sometimes identify and deal with restlessness and laxity before they arise. In other words, you're so attuned to what's happening in your mind that when you see, that, distraction to a positive, an object of attachment, I can feel that energy, okay? Or, I'm beginning to, yeah. So the side of subtle laxity, yeah. Okay. So the power of introspective awareness can sometimes identify and deal with restlessness and laxity before they arise. The sixth stage of sustained attention, pacifying, now arises. Okay, now the seventh one, thoroughly pacifying. Even if subtle thoughts or subtle destructive emotions, such as attachment, resentment, lethargy, and so on, manifest, they are easily pacified. So earlier, you didn't notice them so quickly, and even when you did, it was really difficult to get your mind back on the object with some amount of concentration. Yeah, still now, the subtle laxity and subtle restlessness can arise occasionally. So still, your focus is interrupted. But the power of effort easily and quickly stops them. Okay, so you can recognize them quicker, and with effort, remember, effort doesn't mean squeezing. Effort means joyous effort, enthusiasm. Yeah, so effort easily and quickly stops them. Mindfulness, introspective awareness, and effort are well developed. Yeah, so those are three of the powers. Yeah, three of the six powers. They're well developed, but non-application of the antidotes may still occur. So non-application, subtle laxity, subtle or gross laxity, restlessness have arisen, but you don't apply the antidote. Yeah. It's like, you know how it is sometimes? It's like, oh, I've been trying to figure out this, my relationship 7 years ago broke up, and I've been trying to understand why. And now I'm understanding why. This meditation is so useful. Yeah. Goodbye, Buddha. Now I'm psychoanalyzing my partner, I'm psychoanalyzing myself, and, yeah. The whole problem was we played tennis too much. Yeah. And that was the demise of our relationship. Why practicing tennis too much breaks up a relationship? Because we competed with each other. And they sometimes were better than me, and I can't stand that. Then I feel like, I'm getting suppressed. Okay. Okay. So, non-application of the antidotes may still occur. At this point, the seventh stage of sustained attention arises. Now, the eighth, called making single-pointedness. Single-pointed. So as a result of mindfulness and effort, laxity and restlessness are not able to interrupt concentration. So focus is uninterrupted. Yippee! Oops, I just got distracted. After sitting down to meditate, we can immediately apprehend the meditation object, and concentration remains on it continuously. And also the object is, our mind is vivid, and we can perceive the object better, the details and so on. So that's going to definitely make it more interesting. Only a little effort is needed at the beginning of a session to discern the details of the object and to guard against laxity and restlessness. After that, the mind stays on the object without faltering through the power of effort. The eighth stage of sustained attention now arises, and single-pointed concentration can remain for a long time. Okay. Then the ninth stage, placement in equipoise. Gradually, the power of complete familiarity becomes stronger, and effort to maintain mindfulness and introspective awareness is no longer required, because your mind, you've applied those before, your mind is very used to the object, it's tamed, so you don't need them as strongly, okay? The mind engages with the object willingly, and the ninth stage is attained. Just the wish to meditate is required at the beginning of the session. Once mindfulness is placed on the object and the mind enters meditative equipoise, it effortlessly and naturally remains in single-pointed concentration without having to evoke mindfulness, because your mindfulness is sustained. It's there all the time. The focus on the object of meditation is spontaneous. It's no longer interrupted. And single-pointed meditation automatically continues for a long time. The sense consciousnesses are totally absorbed and no longer respond to external stimuli during meditation. Wouldn't that be nice? You know, the faucet could be dripping, the motorcycles roaring, you know, one of the cats crawling all over your lap, wanting to be pet, somebody coming in, slamming the door, all this stuff. It doesn't bother you. Wouldn't that be nice? Okay, so no longer sense consciousnesses are totally absorbed and no longer respond to external stimuli during meditation. This is the highest concentration attainment with a desire realm mind. It is a similitude of serenity. Fully qualified serenity has not yet been attained. Okay, so we have to divert here for a minute. When it says with a desire realm mind, yeah. So, and it's, there's a longer explanation that follows, but just so you understand this right now. Okay, so when we're born, yeah, we're born into one of the three realms, yeah, the desire realm, the form realm, the formless realm. Within the desire realm, there are 6 classes of beings, okay? The hells, hungry ghosts, animals, humans, asuras, and demigods and gods, okay? So those are all in the desire realm. Yeah, the demigods and the gods do not have single-pointed concentration. What they have is sense pleasure deluxe. Yeah, it's the form realm and formless that have single-pointed. Okay, so let's say you sit down, you have a desire realm mind, yeah? We all have desire realm minds. You sit down, you practice to develop serenity, yeah? You gain the 9th stage, yeah? Your mind, you as a person are still in the desire realm, and the level of concentration in your mind is the most somebody in the desire realm can have. Yeah. You have to keep practicing. There's some other things you need to develop. And when you actually develop serenity, yeah, that is a form realm mind, okay? Meaning that the beings in the form realm, this is their level of mind, yeah? So this mind has single-pointed concentration. So, but you as a person are in the desire realm, but your mind is a form realm mind, yeah? If you die at that time, yeah, you will be reborn. That's a form realm mind for the first dhyana. You will be reborn in the first dhyana of the form realm, okay? If you practice some more, maybe you develop all 4 formless realm or form realm minds, and you then gain the formless realm, okay? So your body could still be, or you as a person, is still desire realm, but then your mind becomes a formless realm mind, because that's the level of concentration you have, okay? In the form realm, they're not in concentration all the time, yeah. I mean, you have Brahma and Indra and those guys, they came down and requested the Buddha to teach. They had to, you know, come out of their single-pointedness to do that. Yeah. So, and so, you know, they have some kind of social functioning. I don't know what. Yeah, it's yeah, not like we do. Yeah. But as you go through the 4 form realm dhyanas and the 4 formless realm meditative absorptions, yeah, your concentration gets deeper and deeper, yeah, and to the point in the formless realm, yeah, you're just born with that in concentration, and it lasts until you die. Okay? You don't come out of it until you die. So it's said to be very blissful. And believe it or not, they say that we've been born as everything in samsara many times. So we've actually, that means that we've attained these form and formless levels of absorption, of single-pointedness, yeah. But what was missing? The realization of emptiness, yeah. Why was that missing? Because either there was no bodhicitta, yeah, and or there's no renunciation of samsara. Okay, because those two, well, the renunciation of samsara, if you're practicing the fundamental vehicle, that is, you want to get out of samsara. And so that propels you to meditate on emptiness, yeah. Bodhicitta propels the bodhisattva to meditate on emptiness, which gets you out of your own samsara, yeah. Okay, so when they talk about many of the non-Buddhists practicing samadhi and serenity and so on, they can accomplish the form and formless realm absorptions, and they get born into, whatever level they've accomplished that realm, yeah, and they stay in that realm until they die, and then when that karma is over, yeah, then kerplunk down to the desire realm again, okay? Because there's no renunciation or no bodhicitta, thus there's no realization of emptiness. Or maybe they have bodhicitta, or they have renunciation, but, and so they've been trying to do some meditation on emptiness, but they don't have that realization yet. Okay. Okay. So the 9th stage of sustained attention is the highest concentration attainment with a desire realm mind. It's a similitude of serenity. Similitude means it's close to, it's somewhat like that. It's similar, but not exactly it. Yeah. So fully qualified serenity has not yet been attained. According to the Tibetan scholar Chim Jampe-yang, who was his big speciality was the Abhidharma. That was what he did. So according to Chim Jampe-yang, the first 3 stages are meant to enable the mind, which is generally fluctuating and moving from object to object. So placing the mind, continual placement and repeated placement. Yeah. So that's what those 3 stages, to enable the mind, which is generally fluctuating and moving from object to object, to abide on its meditation object. The second 3 stages, close placement, taming, and pacifying, okay, are meant to stabilize the mind that is already abiding on the object. So first 3, you get your mind on the object. Second 3, what you're working on is stabilizing your mind on the object. The last 3 stages, thoroughly pacifying, making single-pointed, and placement and equipoise, are means to gain full control of the mind that has achieved stability. So that is refining what you've attained so you can actually gain serenity. As we progress through these stages of sustained attention, the strength of our mind and the power of our meditation increase in dependence on each other. Okay? So the stronger your mind, the more the power of your meditation is increasing. More power of your meditation increasing, that makes your mind stronger. Yeah. Clarity and stability correspondingly increase, okay, resulting in mental and physical peace and happiness. Not pliancy yet, but mental and physical peace and happiness. Our complexion becomes youthful and radiant. It's better than Botox. Yeah. We feel light and vigorous, so you don't have to take so many supplements. And dependence on coarse food decreases without going on, what's the big weight loss, OZ, something. You know, there's some big weight loss drugs, you know. Your dependence on coarse food decreases. Okay, still not serenity. We have to keep going. So the next section is called Mental and Physical Pliancy and the Bliss of Physical and Mental Pliancy. Okay. So they go in that order that you'll see. First, mental pliancy, then physical pliancy. Then the bliss of physical pliancy, followed by the bliss of mental pliancy. Okay. So after the 9th stage, mental pliancy, physical pliancy, the bliss of physical pliancy, and the bliss of mental pliancy need to be cultivated in that sequence to attain serenity. Some people are able to do this quickly. Others must meditate for weeks or who knows how long before attaining serenity. Asanga says in Compendium of Knowledge, what is pliancy? It is a serviceability of the body and mind due to the cessation of the continuum of physical and mental dysfunctions. It functions to dispel all obstructions. Okay, so it's a flexibility, serviceability of the body and mind. You can apply them to what you want without like going, okay, body, sit there, sit still, be comfortable. I'm tired of you hurting. I don't want to scratch that itch, but I'm not supposed to move. There's none of that, okay? Yeah. Because the body and mind become serviceable, yeah. And the continuum of physical and mental dysfunctions. Physical dysfunctions are your winds, yeah, or your qi in Chinese, or prana, Sanskrit, lung, you know, the inner winds are discombobulated, you know, and so there's no peace in the mind. That's the physical dysfunction. Mental dysfunction, yeah, is your mind is full of distractions and afflictions. Yeah. So it's interesting because the minds and the afflictions, you know, when your lung is disturbed, your mind gets disturbed. When your mind gets disturbed, the lung gets disturbed. Yeah. And when one gets peaceful, the other one gets peaceful too. So physical dysfunctions are factors related to winds or prana in the body that make the body heavy and uncomfortable when we try to engage in virtue. Yeah, you ever have that problem? Your back hurts, your knees hurt, you're falling asleep, you know, you have an itch somewhere, you know, you have itches all over. You forgot to take your glasses off, so now all of a sudden you're feeling how heavy they are on your nose. You know, all that kind of thing. Yeah, yeah. The body's heavy and uncomfortable. Yeah, I want to move. I want to stretch my leg. I want to stretch more than my leg. I wish my leg wouldn't do this. You know, whatever. My back. Yeah. Okay, so that's the physical discomfort, and you know and so the winds are disturbed there. Okay, so mental dysfunctions prevent taking delight in eradicating afflictions. That's because we kind of, you know, can stay with our afflictions for quite a while. Yeah, we don't take delight in eradicating them. It takes a lot of effort to train in the antidotes, doesn't it? Yeah, it's not something that the mind easily takes to. We have to really sit there and, you know, train the mind in the antidote. Your mind gets attracted to some attractive person, and then like, oh, I shouldn't be thinking of that. Bring the mind back. Oh, the mind doesn't even go back because the image of that person arises in your mind again. Yeah? And yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm talking about. So, you know, this always is interrupting. And our, you know, mental dysfunctions, it's like, oh, yeah, oh, my mind keeps going back to that person. Gee, I must really be developing some feelings towards them. This is a signal. Yeah, this relationship is getting deeper. Oh, God, you know, your mind is off and running. Okay, and so the mental dysfunctions prevent taking delight in eradicating afflictions. Yeah? Who wants to exert the effort to eradicate afflictions when you can daydream about objects of attachment? When you can daydream about what you're going to do to get even with all these people who have hurt your feelings and, you know, been mean to you. Yeah, it's so easy to stay on those objects, isn't it? Yeah? Thinking of an object of attachment, no problem. Thinking of, you know, your anger and what you want to do to get even, no problem. But that's not the concentration that we're trying to develop. Okay, that's called mental and physical dysfunction. Yeah. So similarly, what is this Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Repairs or something? People for a while, when that book was popular, were asking, can I develop samadhi through repairing the motorcycle? You know? Or if I don't like motorcycles, can I develop samadhi by cooking chocolate cake? You know, I mean, sometimes, yeah, people misunderstand stuff. Yeah, and then they ask me, and I'm tasked with telling them, no, sorry, it's harder than that. Okay, through increased familiarity with concentration, physical dysfunctions are overcome. At this time, the brain feels heavy, though not in a uncomfortable way. Yeah, the brain feels heavy. There's a pleasant tingling sensation at the top of your head, as if a warm hand were placed on the crown after your head was freshly shaved. You know that feeling. Yeah? Okay. So this sensation occurs as dysfunctional winds leave from the crown. Yeah. So some of the lung that's just like floating around in erratic ways. Yeah. When you have the physical, when you begin to have more serviceability of physically, yeah, then the lung, that goes with those leaves, through the crown of your head. Don't worry, you're not creating a draft. It's when we say the winds leave, it's not something that you can, yeah. Oh, the guy sitting next to me's hot. I'm gonna go like this. Blow some cool wind on him. No. Yeah. Okay. So this sensation, like, a warm hand on when your head's just freshly shaved, this sensation occurs as physical winds leave from the crown. Immediately afterwards, dysfunctional mental states are overcome and mental pliancy is attained. Okay, so you can see the winds and the mind they have a relationship. When these disturbing winds leave, then the mind gets very calm. Okay, in general, mental pliancy is a mental factor that accompanies all virtuous minds and enables the mind to be directed towards a virtuous object. That means we have some pliancy in general when we have a virtuous mind. Do we have strong pliancy? No. Okay. However, now we're talking about a special mental pliancy that is a serviceability of mind, a lightness and clarity of mind, coupled with the ability to set the mind on whatever virtuous object we wish. Okay, so the mind feels light, it's clear, and now you can put your mind on any virtuous object. Okay, so at this point, no more daydreaming about either objects of attachment or objects of anger. Yeah. The mind no longer resists being directed towards virtuous objects and is happy to meditate and stay on the meditation object. Okay. Mental pliancy, in turn, induces serviceability of the winds flowing through the body, because the winds that power afflictions have subsided. Okay, so you got mental pliancy, which is followed by the physical pliancy, but the mental pliancy starts with some of the dysfunctional winds leaving. Yeah, a wind of physical pliancy pervades the entire body, and the body's lack of serviceability for meditation is overcome. Wow. No more aching knees, aching back, everything like that. Okay, upset stomach, whatever. So this is physical pliancy, a lightness, buoyancy, and serviceability of body that enables the body to be used for whatever virtuous purposes we wish without pain, fatigue, or hardship. Wow, no pain, no fatigue, no hardship. Looks good, huh? The body feels as light as a cotton ball, almost as if we could ride on our own shoulders. What would that feel like? Riding on your own shoulders. Your body's got to be pretty contorted for that. How about you just feel light as a cotton ball? Okay. Physical pliancy immediately leads to experiencing the bliss of physical pliancy, which is a very blissful tactile sensation. So this is a physical sensation, yeah, because the winds are really calm now. Okay. The body feels incredibly comfortable and fresh, and we could use it in virtuous activities as we wish. As concentration continues, there is the sense that the body has melted into the meditation object. At this point, the bliss of mental pliancy is experienced. Okay, so it was mental pliancy, physical pliancy, then the bliss of physical pliancy, now the bliss of mental pliancy. Okay, the mind is very joyous, almost too buoyant, and we feel as if we could focus on each atom of a wall. Following this, there is a cessation on the top of the head, similar to placing a cool hand on top of a freshly shaven head, and the mental bliss decreases a bit. Because when the mental bliss is too strong, the mind isn't totally peaceful. Okay, so when the mental bliss becomes stable, then there's the unfluctuating bliss of concentration and unfluctuating mental pliancy. Okay, at this point, serenity is attained. Yeah. I know a monk who studied well and later meditated to develop serenity. He described to me the bliss arising from physical and mental pliancy. Okay. Serenity is concentration arisen from meditation. Okay. We often talk of wisdom arising from hearing, from thinking, from meditation. Here we're talking about concentration arisen from meditation. That is, serenity is concentration arisen from meditation that is accompanied by the bliss of mental and physical pliancy, in which the mind abides effortlessly without fluctuation for as long as we wish, on whatever object it has been placed. Stabilizing meditation, that's the one that keeps your mind stable on the object, yeah. Stabilizing meditation has been brought to fulfillment. Kamalashila's second stages of meditation says, for you who have cultivated serenity in this way, when your body and mind become pliant and you have mastery over your mind in directing it as you wish, at that time know that you have accomplished serenity. Okay. This is a good point to stop, I think. Questions? Simple ones, please. Yes?
Somehow the concept of deep concentration freaks me out. So let's say someone is in the meditation hall, deep in concentration, the 9th stage or something, and there's a fire. Can we not get them out of that concentration?
Oh
to
yeah, you
evacuate?
can get them out.
Okay, so their senses are not so withdrawn that they're unrousable.
Yeah, it's not like they're dead.
Okay. No. I was worried.
No, they're still alive. So you go and you tap them on the shoulder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good, thanks.
Yeah, and then they go, oh, and you say, hey, there's a fire. Let's go. Uh-huh.
In order to avoid getting lost into the form and formless realms, so we have to be continuing to meditate on emptiness all along. But it also sounds like that analysis for a certain period of time could really mess with your aspiration to attain serenity. So how do they fit?
Yeah. So they say when you do serenity meditation, not to do a lot of analytic meditation, because when you're doing analytic, your mind is thinking and going from one object to the next, okay? It doesn't, I haven't heard it said, do absolutely no analytic meditation. You know, you might have some, you know, other sessions where you do some analysis, and definitely during the break time, yeah, you're not in single pointed concentration during the break time, only, you know, then it's not then you can't distinguish between break time and that. So during the break time, you know, you have to pay bills and you have to, you know, make your shopping list. And so there's some analysis, yeah. And for your motivation, when you sit down to meditate again, when you reflect on bodhicitta, that's analytic meditation. So it doesn't have to be on emptiness.
Right. But I mean, I have a fear, which is like ridiculous because this is not within the realm of my experience at all, but that the bliss of meditation could so easily distract because we're warned against that, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, and why not? So there's just a question about how far, how mature or developed should one's really understanding of emptiness be before you even really try to embark on this?
Well, not even understanding of emptiness, renunciation of samsara.
First,
Yes, it's the determination to be free from samsara that's going to protect you from just attaining serenity, or one of the stages of the form of formless realm, and then just being overpowered by the bliss. Yeah, this is why our teachers, you know, teach us the Lam Rim at the beginning, and that the beginning lasts years and years and lifetimes, yeah, so that we have a firm basis. Otherwise, you know, if like the non-Buddhists, yeah, then you meditate, you attain serenity, and you just stay in that and get reborn in those realms because it's so blissful, and then you go kerplunk again, okay? So, you know, this is why our teachers emphasize, you know, developing renunciation of samsara, developing bodhicitta, you know, and then some understanding of emptiness. But emptiness is, you know, you have to have some understanding of it, of course, yeah. But we start developing all of that now. What?
Can I ask one more?
Yeah.
Following on that, back to the question of, you know, what is your resistance besides being boring? But the other thought I have is that just to spend time with that very basis, like spending time on the Lam Rim seems like the most productive thing I can do, although I will also admit that I don't have the concentration level to even be able to hold that. But that's a dilemma that I kind of run into a lot about. I'm spending time which has been really wonderful during right now to revisit all this, but I still catch my mind saying I'm spending time just trying to focus, which isn't focusing very well. In the meantime, I should be doing these meditations that I can apply immediately to my life.
Yes.
So, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, you start with the higher training of ethical conduct. Yeah, you start with that. And that doesn't just mean keeping precepts. I mean, the ethical conduct is applying all the Lam Rim, all the thought training, so that we can be kind, sentient beings. So that we can, yeah, not just, you know, kind of meander through life, but be able to solve our own problems, be able to make clear decisions, understand the path, know where we're going, why we're going there, so that if somebody else, if, the great attractive, Prince Charming, Princess Charming arrives, you say, oh, and they come and they go. Yeah. If you don't have any, at least initial mastery over your attachment and your anger and your jealousy and your arrogance, you can't even meditate on Lam Rim, let alone develop serenity. So it's the analytic meditation that gives us the antidotes. Yeah, it's not just a thing of, I got to pull my mind back to the abstract, because sometimes the distractions and the afflictions are so strong. We have to learn the antidotes, and that's why Lam Rim and, Lojong are so important. And that's why our teachers always emphasize that. And they don't just do it for a few years. Yeah, they introduce the higher practices. They say, do them to plant seeds, but you're not really thinking that you're gonna attain those realizations because you don't have the proper understanding of the path yet. Okay, yeah, so you may do tantric things and so on, but if you don't have a proper understanding of the path, you're certainly not going to develop tantric realizations. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Welcome back, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Glad to be back. I was thinking about Tantra recently, and do you think it's true that, like, Tantra gives you, I mean, I don't know anything about Tantra, but does it give you, like, the conviction that you can become a Buddha?
Does it give you the what?
The conviction that you can become.
I think there's various
more?
ways to develop that conviction.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can develop in a Sutrayana way or in a Tantrayana way. So in that way, it's helpful to know the paths and stages of Tantra because it shows you how you can develop your mind. But if you don't understand the Lam Rim, the terminology that you encounter in Tantra, you're going to go, yeah. Okay.
But is that the main,
Put it this way, at the end of the path, to go from a sentient being to a Buddha, you need Tantra.
you need Tantra?
Yeah, definitely at the very end of the path, you need that. Okay. Before, some people do Tantra earlier, some people later, they do Sutrayana, very far along the path, and then go into Tantra. It's different according to the person. Yeah. Okay, let's dedicate then. So there's lots of terminology here, right? Yeah, and it takes some time to learn what all this terminology means and what the concepts mean and how they fit together. Yeah. And then to try and remember it. Yeah. But first, what we have to focus on is learning how to be a healthy human being who gets along with other people. To get along with other people, you have to have some level of renunciation, meaning that you're not totally just operating 25:8 on ignorance, anger, and attachment, that you do have some virtuous states of mind. Okay. So.
May the spiritual teachers who lead me on the sacred path, and all spiritual friends who practice it, have long life. May I pacify completely all outer and inner hindrances. Grant such inspiration, I pray. May the lives of the venerable spiritual mentors be stable, and their virtuous actions spread in the 10 directions. May the light of Lobsang's teachings dispelling the darkness of the beings in the 3 worlds always increase. Idam Gurana Mandala
Kanyiryatayami. Due to this merit, may we soon attain the awakened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their sufferings. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. In the snowy mountain pure land, you're the source of good and happiness. Powerful Tenzin Gyatso Chenrezig, may you stay until samsara ends. May the deeds of explaining and practicing the Dharma, done by groups supporting the teachings and their upholders, who spread the view of dependent arising and non-violent actions in the 10 directions, and especially at Sravasti Abbey in the west.